All right, so that wasn't a cop. But so I learned how to get past the friend zone. I had learned how to get girls into bed, and I was in a good space, you know, emotionally and stuff. In the past, I used to really want love, and I used to really put that first. And I would, you know, because of that, girls were just like, they would just put me in the friend zone because they were too young and they wanted a bad boy and they wanted to mess around themselves and all this kind of stuff. So, you know, growing up in the 90s and the 2000s, you know, you realize that girls aren't like girls in the 60s or the 50s or 40s. They're not like all sweet girls where they're all just looking for marriage and they're all just looking for a lover and things like that. I'm not saying that every girl back then was like that, but it just seems like that was more acceptable. And it seems like in my era, the whole sex boom got in, you know, anyway, not to go off on a tangent, but so growing up, it was just like girls didn't want that. They didn't want love at 16, 17, which is what I was trying to do. They wanted to just mess around. They wanted a bad boy and they wanted the cool guy. And so I wasn't that, although some girls thought I was that. I was on the basketball team. I had a lot of friends, but in my heart, I was like, man, I want love. You know, I was feeling needy and I needed love. And then, so it took me a long time to get out of that blue pill narrative that like, no, these girls, they're not just gonna fall in love with you. You gotta like present yourself in a masculine way. You gotta present yourself as a bad boy and these things like that. I'm not saying you always gotta do that. Sure, at some point they're gonna wanna settle down with a nice guy or a quality guy. And I don't know if I was ever a quality guy, because there's definitely a difference between a good guy, a quality guy, and a quote unquote nice guy, right? Of course, nice guys have gotten a bad rap, but that's a different story. Don't wanna go off on another tangent. So it just never worked out. I never could find love, never understood why. I'd see other people dating and things like that, and I was just like, why not me? I don't understand. Am I ugly? And after a while, I thought I was ugly. And then I realized as I got older, I realized it's just the way I'm coming across. It's my vibe. I'm not ugly. I'm in good shape. I'm tall. Girls have always thought I was cute. I've always able to get numbers. It's just my vibe. I'm not coming across in the right way. I'm not coming across cool or manly or whatever. And then, of course, it took me a lot of years later to realize that was actually a example of toxicity on women's part. These women are toxic for wanting a certain type of bad boy and that masculine vibe or whatever. And then later on, you know, you learn about hypergamy and how girls want a guy with money and blah, blah. And that throws a whole nother fucking monkey wrench in the story. So at the end of the day, I had figured out how to find love, or how to find sex, how to get sex. And so sex is easier to find than a quality girl. Believe me, that's just what it is. The Bible even says it's very difficult to find a quality girl. The Bible says it's very difficult to find, you know, a good woman. A good woman is more rare than rubies or whatever. There's a proverb that King Solomon wrote in the Old Testament. So I mean, if you don't believe in the Bible, whatever, but even ancient scripts talk about how hard it is to find a quality woman, right? So here I am not knowing any of that, not realizing that, you know, these girls are just out for themselves. They're selfish, they're hypergamous, they're slutty, all these things. And I'm thinking, oh, this girl, you know, is sweet and whatever, but she's still sucking my dick. She's still letting me bust nuts on her face and swallowing me and all this crazy sexual shit we were doing. We were even filming it. And so I'm like, okay, well, what am I gonna do? Like, I mean, she was asking me like, what are we and how are we gonna, you know, like she was asking me, what are we, in the sense that like, you know, are you gonna claim me? And so it's just like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I wanted to claim her or not. I didn't want to. I was just like, I didn't think I wasn't that attracted to her at the time. And because the way she came to me like a slut. I didn't think she was a quality girl. I had just gotten out of two bad relationships with slutty girls that I actually got into relationships with after I had messed around with them in the same way that I met this girl. So it's like, I don't want to repeat that shit again, is what I was thinking. I don't want to repeat that again. I dated this girl named Laurel, and we had sex on the first day we met. And then we would hook up, and I would come over to her house all the time, often. And then eventually, she eventually broke my heart, and I was like, well, this girl's a slut, and like, so this is what happens when I date sluts. And then I met another girl, her name was Jessie, and the same story. The first time I hung out with her, we had sex, and it was like, I saw a pattern here, and I was like, these girls aren't quality girls because they keep breaking my heart, and they keep cheating on me, or they keep finding somebody else and dumping me. And so I was like, I don't want to claim this girl because that's just going to be the same thing. That's what I was thinking. And lo and behold, she kind of did a lot of that stuff eventually. She kind of did go with other guys and screw me over. And it's like, then at that point, you have to say, well, these girls don't have quality. These aren't quality girls, and it's like, but you still love them. I loved Laurel. When we broke up, I wanted her back. I missed her. I loved Jessie. When we broke up, I wanted her back. I missed her, but they never come back because they go through guys like tissue until they find the guy who they want to settle down with. Laurel eventually settled down with some guy who had a crappy job, and they moved in with his mom. Jessie's out, being a globetrotter, like not even, just having fun being single or whatever. And then the latest one, Julie, she moved in with some other guy. I don't even think she knew the guy for 6 months before she moved in with him. She had just gotten out of another relationship before she met him, or before she met the guy she moved in with. The guy that she was in the relationship before that, he was her rebound from me. So she's jumping from relationship to relationship, right? And then when she left me, I was like, oh man, I miss her. Maybe I can get her back, just like I did with Laurel and Jessie. And of course, it didn't work. They might have come back like one day or whatever, but Jessie never came back. Laurel came and saw me one time and like laid in my bed and stuff, and we kissed and kind of cuddled, and that was it. And she gave me some pity sex or something, or like to her it was like, oh, this is the breakup sex. This is the last time we're gonna ever have sex or something, and like just kind of cruel and messed up, And it's like, if you love someone, you're gonna want to be with that person. If you love someone, you're not gonna just want to dump them and discard them. And I think this is how these young women are. They've got so many options. It's like, okay, well, that one didn't work out. I guess I'll just go on to the next one. And it's like, it wasn't like that 50 years ago, 60 years ago, in the 1950s, 1960s. It just wasn't like that. People got together and they were loyal, and they fought through their problems, and they supported each other, and they stuck up for one another. They didn't look for any reason to dump them, or like, oh, we don't have this in common, or we don't have this exact same thing in common, or whoa. And it's like, they tried to stay together, and they were sweethearts. And it's like, that's what I want, and that's what I thought I could get with Julie. That if she came back, because I was like, well, maybe she is a sweetheart. She was shy and all these things, and maybe she really is a sweetheart. So I tried to get her back, and she comes back, right? She comes back for like 5 months, but she's living with this other guy. And what am I supposed to do? She's living with another guy. So she comes over like once a week. She has Wednesdays off from work. She comes over and like we cuddle, and she gives me these hints like, well, let's go out and do stuff. And I'm just like, man, I only get to see you once a week. It's like, I'm 35. I need intimacy. I'm not having sex with anyone else right now. I want love. I don't want to go out and chase these dumb little whores anymore. Like, can you just come over? We can cuddle and like be intimate and things like that. So I messed up in a sense that I should have. I should have went out and did stuff. Although we did a couple times. We went out and did things a few times. We went for walks and stuff. And it was like, I always felt like it was a good bonding experience, but I don't know, man. She just decided at the last minute. She was just like, well, I want to be with this other guy. And I'm just like, why? I don't understand. Like, didn't what we have was good, as she was all worried about the finances, and she was worried that I went to church, and she was worried that I wouldn't smoke weed with her and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, you can't even have kids with this guy because he's fixed. He can't even have kids. So what are you going to do with that? I want kids someday. Yeah, I want to get a little bit more financially secure, and then I'll have kids. And it's like, why can't we do that? And I don't know. I think ultimately was just like, well, he makes more money than you. He's leasing a house. He doesn't have the same problems as you, and he can probably take care of me financially. So that's what she chose, right? And so, how am I supposed to feel about that? You know what I mean? I mean, it happens. Guys get dumped. It happens, but it's like after all these years that I wanted to get her back, and I finally got her back, and it's just like, how cruel is that? And how do I deal with that? How do I move on? How do I, get her out of my heart? Especially after she came over, once a week, and we were cuddling and we were kissing and making out. We never even kissed and made out before then. And I felt like she was a sweet girl and all these things. She was sweet up until like she wasn't, she was sweet up until she wasn't. She was sweet up until like she wanted something that I couldn't give her. She was sweet up until, she made this executive decision that I was like not good enough for her or whatever reason, like, oh, we didn't have things in common or whatever. But it's like, dude, that's not love. And it's like, if you're choosing somebody just because he has money, and he's got a house or whatever, he can take care of you, but I can't. I don't have a house. I can't give you security. Like, what is that? Is that real love? I don't know. That's kind of heartless to me. But it's almost along the same lines of when I was growing up, and all these girls, they wanted the bad boys, and I was a nice guy, and I didn't have that thing that they wanted. And it's like, it's all about what they want. Oh, I want this, I want that, and it's just like, do half those girls even? Where are those girls now? Did those girls ever find love? Did those girls ever settle down with somebody? I don't know. Maybe they're just like her. Maybe they got in with somebody who had a house and offered them room and board and a place to stay. And they're just like, cool, I'm cool with that. And so it's like, I don't know, man. Like, that's a weird world, man. That's like the Twilight Zone world where it's like nobody really loves each other. Nobody has real love. Everybody's just hooking up because they're bad boys or chasing these guys for the wrong reasons. And then they just settle down because the guy's got money, and it's just like, that's a weird world, man. I just don't understand that. But hey, that's what happened. So it's like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I wanted to love you. You said you wanted love, and